The Koalition.
Yeah, okay, so this is going to be, I guess, a pretty free flow discussion. We got to talk about Black Panther because unless you're living under a tree, you probably didn't notice this movie came out this past Friday, February 16th, or February 15th for those of you that went and saw it on Thursday night. I really don't know if we should get into any spoilers because I'm pretty sure there's some people that still haven't seen this movie, and why, I have no idea. But definitely want to speak about the movie because I think the movie was fantastic. Again, I don't really know if we should give any spoilers per se, but maybe we'll have a spoiler session and you can tell people don't listen past this part. But Dana, how about you start us off and let us know what you think about Black Panther, but also let us know about the little story that you had where someone tried to tell you about the importance of the movie.
Lord and Black Jesus. Okay, so if you don't know, I'm stuck down here at the toy fair, which, you know, is all industry and people who create toys and people who buy toys and people like me who does the press. Now this was really funny because I captured all of this on my Facebook Live video. So I'm doing just a regular tour of the floor, you know, and everything's going great. And I had this white woman run up to me. Oh my gosh, I just saw Black Panther. I am so proud you guys have a superhero you can look up to. And she was like very excited about this movie. And apparently, before this movie came about, you know, Black people apparently, according to her, had no ways to pull themselves up from their bootstraps to strive to be better people. And she gives me this whole lecture about her biracial children. And she kept emphasizing that even though they're biracial, they got into Yale and Brown and Harvard. And, you know, they deferred to some of these other colleges. They also got into Columbia as well. But despite their hardships as a biracial child, they now know that with Black Panther, they can be their own superhero. And this is not the first time that this has happened to me. This is about the third time in a 2-day span that I have had white people come up to me and be like, oh my God, you have a hero. We're so proud. Don't do that to anybody who is, you know, a person of color. Just just don't do it. I don't care if your heart's in the right place. I don't care if you're marching with the NAACP every single day. I don't care if you're a Jesse Jackson supporter or you're right there with your Al Sharpton wig on saying, yay, Black people. Just don't do it. Because it's not only is it rude, it's disrespectful. Yes, it's wonderful that we have this superhero who represents us and comes from Africa, even though it's a fictional land, but it comes from Africa and, you know, there are kings and queens and it's something other than Medea and something other than, you know, us being Crime Time or us being the poor Black kid in Precious. Yes, this is great. But at the same time, we already know our self-worth and we don't need a movie to define us. So don't do that. Now, end of rant right there. Just say no. Just, you know, march with us in silence. But just don't come up to us and say that. Also, this movie, what I loved about it, did something that no other Marvel movie could do, and that's give us an actual villain. And even though in my heart, I don't see him as being a villain, as in like, say, a Thanos type thing with world domination, kill everybody. I viewed him as being, yes, he was a villain because he was against what we're all supposed to be rooting for. But he also had his own set ways of which it was grounded in realistic. It was realistic in everything that he fought for. And I'm not going to go into spoilers because I know a lot of people. In New York City, it's hard as heck to get tickets to. I think there's a screening at like 8 a.m. is the only thing that's available, and there's only like 10 tickets left. So it's really hard to get any type of tickets. So I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say this. I was so proud to see a villain that was actually a villain and also was three-dimensional. Yes, he was a villain. No, he wasn't a villain. Yes, he stood for his people and wanted everything to work out. But yes, he wanted to see, and it wasn't anti-white. Let's just stop that right there. No shape or form is this movie anti-white. Just because you have a movie that's pro-black does not automatically make it anti-white. We're all living in the same world, and as the movie showed, we're all living in the same world, and the point is to work together. So my whole thing is it had a villain that actually was a villain, was one of the best villains. It was one of the best movies that I've seen overall. Me with Marvel, their thing is that, yeah, they're really great with action. Sometimes their story lacks, or sometimes they try too hard to be really funny. For example, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Let's try to be funny, and the story was butthole. Or, you know, let's throw in this action scene at Thor Ragnarok, and, you know, you're forgetting about other characters. Or let's focus on Hulk speaking like a 3-year-old. Where's the other Avengers, and how do they play into this? But this was the first Marvel movie where it encompassed everything. It took all of everything that all the fans, you know, griped about, and it was like, we're not going to do this. We're going to be better. And I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that because it was our first, I'm not going to say our first Black superhero movie, because I'm well aware of Blade. I'm well of the Meteor Man. I'm aware of Meteor Man as well. But because it was the first Black Marvel superhero blockbuster, let's forget about Blade and the other ones for a minute. But this was something that worked with the MCU, that had this huge story, that's going to have this big climactic ending when we get to Infinity Wars 2, Infinity Wars Part 1, and the other, Phase 5. I don't know what phase are we on. I think we're on 4. But when we get into these other phases of the movie, it's going to have a huge impact, because this is a country, not just a single person, but a country that's affected by Thanos. So I think because the stakes were automatically higher, and then yes, we have, you know, we want a movie, the Black movie, to be successful, and we want to prove that we're just as good as Captain America. So it had a lot riding on its shoulders, and it delivered. And if you look, there was an interview that Kevin Feige did with Ryan Coogler, who I met a while ago. I mistaken him for a teenager. We had a lovely conversation of me not knowing who he was. And at the end of the conversation, I'm like, I hope you do good. And, you know, in your directing path, I didn't know who he was. If you look at him, he looks like a teenager. So I'm like, yeah, I hope you get into film school one day. Anyway, what he did, it raised the bar for other movies, and it pleased everyone. All the gripes that we had. So for me, it was just one of those movies that you have to watch again and again and again to get all of the little nuances that they did, all the touches of culture, all the touches of the script, because everybody is so involved with it. The theater I went into, you know, everybody was laughing and, you know, cheering. So there are moments, even the quiet ones, where you have to pay attention to. So it's something that you have to watch again and again and again. And also, can we just get a round of applause for Forrest Whitaker, and he fixed his eye? That was the greatest thing ever. Like, you fixed Forrest Whitaker's eye. I am going to Wakanda, which in my head is right next to Zamunda. So I'm very happy.
Absolutely. I agree with so many points that you said. They're all on point. There are two things that I want to say, but Gary, I'm going to let you go first, because I know you saw the movie yesterday with Ramis. So, yeah, you can tell us your thoughts. But again, I guess no spoilers, because we do have some people in the chat that still haven't seen it. So go ahead.
Yeah, amazing movie. Excellent. I really loved it. If you do happen to be a person of color, you're obviously going to feel very empowered by this movie. It speaks to us, but also, I don't want people of other, race to kind of think that they're going to be left out watching the movie as well, because at the end of the day, it's still a very human movie. It's a movie that anyone can kind of relate to. It's just that, it plays a lot on history and the things that have happened in the past in society. And in my opinion, it makes it right. It's a movie for everyone. It speaks to everyone, but obviously people of color, you're going to understand certain things that not everyone might be able to see as well. So with that being said, I think Killmonger was an excellent villain, probably the best we've seen in an MCU movie so far. And like Dana said, you might not even want to call him a villain. Like, I've seen people say that he's an anti-hero, online and stuff like that. And you know, you can make that argument. Like he's not, yeah, he's a product of his environment. He's a product of society. He's a product of what's happened in, you know, history and everything like that. And obviously he goes about his mission in a way that not everyone can agree with, because, you know, he wants to, you know, harm people and stuff. But, you know, he, like, you can fully understand his struggle, and he's very humanized. You know, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, like he's very real. He feels very real. And he says one of the realest things I've ever heard in a movie like this, you know, this large, like from coming from any Marvel movie. He says one line in the film that's just super real. And I can't spoil that, of course, but yeah. Michael B. Jordan did amazing. I could even I'll even go on record and say that that character Killmonger stole the show. Like he's like the shining star of the film. He even outshined Black Panther himself. But Black Panther is also great too. Like, you know, he's great, and obviously he represents the good side, the human side of people. So yeah, he represents what's right, you know, about the world and everything.
Don't represent what's human and all what's right. It's just a different point of view of what's right.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there's many ways to look at that. Like, I can't really articulate it more without, you know, spoiling. So, yeah, I'll just agree with you there. But, yeah, like Killmonger was definitely a standout to this film, in my opinion. But the whole cast was great. There was a lot of talent in the film. Even the ladies were doing their thing. Like, you know, they were getting it in, like they were going ham, you know, like the lady who plays Michonne in Walking Dead, she was really good. And Lupita, I think, I can't remember how to pronounce the name, but the other female actress. Huh?
Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she did an excellent job as well. And it was just an overall great cast of characters. And just to address all the people who are acting really silly over racial issues and stuff towards this film, like, it's really not that big a deal. Like, I don't understand why there's all this racial tension and stupidity, like what Dana was talking about. Like, I really don't understand why all that is happening. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, the way people were talking about the movie leading up to me seeing it, I thought, wow, there must be like some real crazy stuff in this movie for people to be acting like this. But when I went to see it, it was just like there's really nothing like crazy. Like, it's just real, you know, it's real everyday stuff that happens, you know, or has happened. And I don't understand where all this racial tension and all these silly comments are coming from online. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, and like I said before, this is a movie anyone can watch and enjoy and understand, in my opinion. And if you struggle to understand it, or if you have some sort of issue with it, then maybe there's actually an issue with you. You know, that's what I'll say to people who somehow find some sort of racial issue with the movie. Maybe the issue is with you, like, because I don't see what, you know, in that film is offensive or, you know, anything. It's just real. Like, it represents what's happened. That's it. But
right, and also if you're feeling salty, go and watch Captain America. That'll cool you down.
Exactly.
Other superhero movie that's out there. Go watch Batman.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to say, because there was actually some critic or someone, some media person came out and said the film is overwhelmingly black. Okay, what about all the 5 million overwhelmingly white movies out there? Like, why don't you go watch one of those instead? Like, obviously you've got options. So
yes, you don't have many options. We still don't have a superhero Native American or, you know, an Asian movie that with superheroes. But for right now, we have one movie, and, you know, if you want to count a little bit of Blade and a little bit of Meteor Man, which is not at the same level, you know, basically one movie in the mix of what, 500 that come out every year. So I don't understand what you're complaining. And also, I just want to piggyback really quickly and just say that, oh my goodness, there's like, oh, everybody's showing out and showing up for Black Panther. You know, there's a lot of videos on social media where people are coming in playing African drums. They're wearing dashikis. They're wearing all of these different costumes. We're doing the exact same thing that people do when they go see Harry Potter, or they go see The Lord of the Rings, or they go see any other of these franchises that people like to do cosplay with. Except for this is the first time that we actually have a movie that portrays a Black superhero like this. So yes, we're going to dress up and we're going to be really excited about it. Just like you did when you did your Harry Potter, your little Lord of the Rings, or any other movie that came out. People was dressed up as Captain America, or, Avengers, and everybody flipped out about that. Be your Hulk inside. We're going to be T'Challa. So I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to get too deep, but yeah, I completely agree. And anyone who has an issue with seeing people dress up like in African garments and dashikis and stuff like that, those people are probably just scared that there's going to be some sort of uprising. Like, you need to, obviously that's some deep level of guilt that you're feeling, and you're scared that it's gonna, that there's going to be some sort of uprising. But yeah, people should be happy to just celebrate the movie that's representing them and that's speaking to them. So there's no issue with people dressing up, at all. And like you said, they've done it for other movies. So there shouldn't be an issue.
Nope. They just salty about the Birth of a Nation with Nate Parker.
Yeah, they were salty about that film too. So.
He's scared.
That's
they
right.
tried to sabotage that movie. So yeah.
Well, it worked. It worked for him. It definitely worked in his favor. He has, but he's trying to recover now, I guess, whatever he's doing now.
He's doing a web series. It's good for him. What they did was terrible because, Casey Affleck and Ben Affleck on these streets touching and grabbing and groping. But okay.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right. We'll see. So, you guys have already said a lot about the movie. I don't really feel like I have too much more to add. I will just say two things. I agree that the story was fantastic. Michael B. Jordan, excellent villain. And he definitely deserves in that discussion now. When they have a discussion about the top villains in these MCU movies, this guy has to be at the very top of the list. I know we're going to get Thanos in Infinity War. I'll be very curious to see how that's handled now, because
I have such disappointment for that. I don't see it going that great. They already downgraded his look from being menacing to now he's like a little purple man from the Power Rangers. So I feel nothing. They even made him look more like Josh Whedon. I'm so confused about Marvel's choices.
Well, I'm confused that you had this actors playing Cable also, and you have both of these movies are coming out in the same month now, because Deadpool comes out in May also. So, man, that's you gotta make sure he don't look nothing like the actor now, as far as Thanos is concerned. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. And
I'm still angry at Cable. Cable should have been the guy who played the villain in Avatar.
Avatar.
Remember Avatar, the crappy movie, and the villain in it?
Oh yeah. I do remember that.
Cable.
Well, hey, well, hopefully we don't need. Hopefully we won't see any more Avatar movies now. So.
No, we're getting more. It's like in the next 40 years or so. So the great thing is we'll probably all be dead by the time they release.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Oh yeah, Jane. Yeah, there are more coming, so we'll see. But yeah, what I was going to say, the two things I was going to say, yeah, Gary already touched upon it. I mean, the way the women were represented in the movie, that was fantastic. And that, from what I understand, I didn't read the comics, but that is exactly how they were portrayed in the comics. So I'm very glad they emphasized that, because, I mean, a lot of times you see that the guys are always the ones that are doing all the work, there. So it was great to see it in this context, definitely. And they're very intelligent, very attractive, very intelligent women, strong women. So I was glad that they put that in there. And the other thing I did want to mention, something that Dana, you've already touched on, I do still live here in Atlanta. Most of this movie was shot here in Atlanta. So for me to go to an actual screening, I saw pretty much everything that you said, Dana, people dressing up in the African attire. I actually sat next to a couple. All they had on was African attire, and they had a little son who had on a Black Panther costume. And just to see the excitement in the kids' faces, just mutually bonding. When I go to the theater, normally I don't really I go to a theater, everyone is just off doing their own thing. When I went to see this movie, everybody wanted to have a conversation afterwards. So to see that and to see everybody coming to support the film, that was fantastic. The theater I went to, normally it was in a shopping mall area, and in that same shopping area, there's a lot of stores that are no longer there. So normally when you go to see a movie at that theater, there's hardly no one there. When I went to go see that movie, everybody was there just to see the movie. And line was going outside of the actual mall. So it's just an awesome sight to see. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Black people don't like to have conversations with random strangers. So it's changing everything.
Oh, yeah. You're right about
Black
that.
People more open and everything.
You're 100% right about that. And for what I understand right now, I believe it's close to 200 million that it's made. We haven't even counted the rest of today or tomorrow when it's actually a holiday. So I think it's safe to say this movie is going to definitely break a lot of records if it hasn't done so already. And like I said, it's just I'm glad to see. Like I said, maybe in the future we will talk about spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet, because I do know it was sold out a lot of places this weekend. I was lucky to get a screening that I got the ticket the day before. So I got really, really lucky to get in, because everywhere else it was sold out, Friday and Saturday. So it is what it is. But yeah, everybody, if you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend you go see it. Again, just go check it out, and then you'll see there's a lot of stuff that I wish I could say about the movie, but again, I don't want to spoil nothing. We will have a show at some point in the future where we'll talk about the spoilers. But yeah, the writing, the cast, the messages, all fantastic. Definitely a must-see movie, and without a doubt, in my personal opinion, the best movie I've seen so far this year. So I'll be very curious to see what other movies are on that same level by the time we revisit the discussion at the end of the year for the movies we enjoyed the most. But go see it.
Yep. And also, it's a really big missed opportunity. I think that they should have had like this combo pack where you go and you get the tickets and you also get a comic book with it. Because when you watch the movie, it's so gorgeous, it's so beautiful, and the history is so rich that they should have included like a comic book and there was a lot of kids there. So they should have included like a comic book to, for them to go into deeper with the story and to learn more about the character.
I agree 100% with that idea. That was a missed opportunity, but I will give them credit for one thing. Whoever decided, let's make this movie and let's release it this month, Black History Month, that was a genius idea from that aspect, because it's just, perfect timing, perfect planning on their part. But yeah, the comic book idea, they should have did that. I agree with that 100%. That would have been fantastic, because then it keeps things going afterwards for those that, a lot of people who saw this movie when I went to the theater and I saw it, a lot of people, all age groups, even the older people, the grandparents. Now, I will say one thing that I don't really understand, and I have to say this very briefly. People who watch Marvel movies, you're supposed to stay until the very end of the movie to see the credits. I don't know why. Most of these people, you could tell this is their first time. They saw the movie and they saw the credits. They said, okay, I'm leaving. Didn't bother staying for the scene afterwards. And I think that middle scene and some stuff that was said in that particular scene is very, very important. But they didn't bother staying for that, and they didn't bother staying for the end. So I hope people learn, for those that do intend to see more Marvel movies, you're supposed to stay for all of the stuff. But still, excellent film. Definitely go out there and see it. And like I said, we'll talk about it at some point. We'll have a full-fledged discussion about everything the movie had to offer. But that's all I had to say on it. Gary, you about to say something else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, people need to learn not to stand up and leave when the credits start, during Marvel movies. And for DC movies, you need to learn to leave in the middle of the movie when you realize it's trash. So
you never attend the movie. Oh, and can we just say really something real quick with DC and the hilarity behind it? DC released an article saying that, they're so happy that Black Panther did so well that they're going to uncancel the Cyborg movie. Because to them, if you have one black movie everyone's flocking to, you're going to have another black movie that everyone's going to flock to. Even though we know nothing about the character, they do a terrible job at storytelling, and it's really not even a superhero. He's just a guy who, you know, got into an accident and now he's working with Justice League. He's basically tech. So, but somehow in DC it translated to, you know, now we can sell tickets to black people because we have a black movie.
Yeah, like I'm sure a lot of studios are going to capitalize off this now, or try to. So yeah, like movie studios, we're going to see through it if you just try and come out with a bunch of woke black movies now. Like don't try to copy the trend. Like just be authentic.
I agree with that. And one thing I will say is, for DC shouldn't be worried about that. They had their moment last year when they released Wonder Woman, and everybody was like, well, where is the Marvel's version of that, which we will get with Captain Marvel next year. So they were the first to that. So they should be happy with that, own that moment, and focus on making another good Wonder Woman movie. Because even though the first one was good, that villain and the way that they handled the end of that, I was not a fan of that at all. So that's just my opinion, though.
No. Here's why I'm always upset when people bring that up. No, Marvel did not piggyback on DC when it came to women-based movies. Marvel, if you guys remember, did that huge press conference where they released all of their phases.
Yeah,
remember Inhumans and all these other movies, and it had it had Mrs. Marvel or Captain Marvel or whatever the heck Marvel it was.
Yeah. That's true.
So they released that way before DC even thought about announcements. And then remember, they had their little press thing, was like, yeah, here's all our movies. And nobody really cared about, and we still don't have it. And remember, they canceled all of their movies. So no, DC piggybacked from Marvel.
I will agree with that. Like Marvel already had all this stuff mapped out, and DC, you know, they came after. So yeah, but obviously we're also going to get. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, remember the uproar when they was like, "Oh, we have Injustice." What was it? Injustice, and nobody heard of the other characters like Cyborg, and so we have to wait until like say 2025 to learn what a cyborg is. Who the heck is Papa Pope doing with this kid? Why is there you know, the other Justice League characters that nobody cares about, Aquaman? Why are we getting all these separate movies right after we get them together? It's stupid. So yeah, no.
Yeah, and we're also getting a Black Widow movie, but I think the Black Widow one should have came before Miss Marvel, personally. But yeah, there's that too.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. No, I agree with that 100%. And I understand exactly what you're saying. What the both of you are saying. I'm just saying the other people on the outside, they're going to see, well, Marvel made that announcement, but what was the movie that got out first? The Wonder Woman movie. So that's why they're like, well, that was a success. Now they're waiting for Marvel's, you know, Captain Marvel.
And who's the franchise that's more thought out?
I'll say what?
Who's the franchise that's more thought out?
Oh, Marvel, always.
Audience. Yeah, exactly. So you got your movie out first. Good for you, but can you sustain that? Because I just watched Justice League. Good. No, they can't. So hush.
They can't. And from what I understand, the only movie they got coming out this year is Aquaman in November. Now there ain't no other movie coming out. Whereas with Marvel, we got 3 movies coming out. Black Panther's out now. Infinity War is coming out in May, and then you got Ant-Man and Wasp coming out in July. So yeah, Marvel got all this stuff planned out.
Yep, and then guess what? Shirtless Jason Momoa, whatever his name is not going to sell a movie. It's not going to him doing all those little vignettes with him with no shirt on, coming out the water 1,000 times. That doesn't make me want to see the movie.
Oh yeah, the women who are fans of him, they're going to see that movie regardless of the of any advertising. They go, oh, he's in it. Oh, I'm gonna go see it.
Game of Thrones and be the moon and the stars again.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, go see Black Panther. We'll talk about it again in the future. We don't want to spoil nothing because it just came out, but maybe by next week we'll be able to talk more about some more stuff. But I believe that concludes